Okay, so it's 3708,
Okay.
paper plastic.
Plastic.
That's the magic word. What? Green police. You picked the wrong day to mess with the ecosystem, plastic boy.
Battery! Battery. Let's go! Take the house! Come on!
Put the rind down! Sir, that's a composting virgin!
Uh-oh! Did you install these bulbs?
Oh.
Tragedy strikes tonight where a man has just been arrested for possession of an incandescent light bulb.
What do you guys think about plastic bottles now?
The water setting is at 105. Yeah. You got a TDI here?
Clean diesel.
You're good to go, sir. Good afternoon, officers. Back to those styrofoam cups you're drinking from?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, please step out of the car and put them on the hood.
Hey, it's Andrea.
And it's Harrison.
And welcome back to our Earth
Day special.
We have decided to do in this segment of taking calls from our listeners on the topic of reduce, reuse, recycle. This is our first caller from Boston, Mass.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I was just wondering which option is the best in terms of reduce, reusing, and recycling.
The best option is reducing, because the problem is the amount of waste we put into the environment. So the first thing you want to do is just try to cut down on the amount of waste you're actually putting out there. The next in line is reusing, because let's use an example of a water bottle. It takes energy to create that water bottle, and it's better for you to use that water bottle more, let's say 5 more times, instead of buying 5 more water bottles, because that's creating more waste. So by reusing products that you already bought, it helps out the environment. The last thing, obviously, is recycling. Recycling is basically your last option, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you can take something like metals or plastics that can be recycled, you should do it instead of just throwing them out, because it does have a small impact.
And our next caller is Riley from Rhode Island.
Hi, I'd like to know some ways to get creative on reusing plastic bags.
Plastic bags? You mean like ones from a grocery store?
Yes, just like that.
Okay, so first thing you'd want to do is probably collect all of them and just save them in a small area in your house. It's not going to take up that much room. And you'd be surprised with how many times you're like, oh gee, I wish I had a plastic bag to use right now. If you're going to sleep over at your friend's house, or if you have a dog in the yard, that would probably be helpful. You can use that. If you have a baby, you can put their dirty diapers in there and then throw that out so your house doesn't smell as bad. You can come up with pretty much a lot of different ways. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I think it's time for our commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. And here's our next caller, Sarah from Connecticut.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could tell me some examples of products around my house that I can reduce, reuse, or recycle.
Yes. Okay, so let's start with reducing, since that's the most important. You can cut down on the amount of time you're in the shower. Also, if you're brushing your teeth, when you're actually brushing your teeth, you can turn off the faucet so the water's not running. Just small things like that. Reusing, you can buy different types of water bottles. I think now they have metal ones that you can use. You just have to wash them. That you don't have to keep buying Poland Springs or whatever. You can just keep doing that. Other things instead of using paper bags and going out and just buying a ton of them, you can buy a lunchbox. It's more money, but it's less paper. Also, on cutting down on paper, you can use rags around your house instead of paper towels. But obviously, there are some stuff that you're going to have to, people are still probably going to buy water bottles. So if that's the case, you can just recycle them, get a bin. You can put them on in front of your house. I know especially in Boston they have that system now where you put anything that can be recycled there. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And here's our last caller, Sandra from Seattle.
Hi, I was just wondering what the long-term importance of reducing, reusing, and recycling would be.
Okay, so when we have a large amount of waste going into the environment, we have to have a place to put it. Usually it ends up in a landfill or an incinerator. The incinerator causes air pollution, And the landfills, like some of them, if you're lucky, they have liners and they take safety precautions, but that's not always the case. So you want to get rid of the amount of waste going into the environment so it doesn't get put into these landfills and destroys the environment. And it also helps out with budgeting money. If we don't have the amount of waste, we don't have to be putting that money into a bigger landfill or more incinerators. And it would just overall help the individual and the environment in the long run.
That's all we have from our listeners. Thanks for calling and stay tuned for more music.